I watched from my wheelchair as my sister Emily twirled in front of the mirror, her engagement ring catching the chandelier light in our parents' living room. She didn't notice I'd stopped trembling. She didn't notice that my left hand, the one the doctor said would never work again, had curled into a perfect fist beneath the blanket on my lap. "Oh my God, Mom, look at this venue," Emily squealed, shoving her phone in our mother's face. "It's perfect. June 14th. That's the date. I don't care if it's only 4 months away." June 14th. I felt something cold settle in my chest. That was the date of my next surgery, the one that was supposed to help me walk again. The one I'd been on the waiting list for over a year to get. "Sweetheart, that's wonderful," Mom cooed, not even glancing in my direction. I'd been sitting here for 20 minutes, and neither of them had acknowledged me once. "June 14th, I repeated quietly. Emily finally looked at me, her expression flickering with irritation. "What?" "That's my surgery date." She laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, come on, Jess, you can reschedule that. This is my wedding we're talking about. Do you know how hard it is to book the Ashford estate?" I stared at her, at my older sister, who had visited me exactly twice during my 3-month hospital stay, who had complained that my accident ruined her engagement announcement, who was now asking me to postpone the surgery that might give me my life back so she could have her dream wedding. "I've been waiting for this slot for over a year," I said, keeping my voice level. "I can't just reschedule." "Jess, don't be selfish." This from my mother, who hadn't even asked how I was feeling today. "This is Emily's special day. Surely you can understand." "No," I interrupted. "I don't understand. I was hit by a drunk driver 4 months ago. I almost died. And you're asking me to give up my surgery so Emily can have her wedding on some arbitrary date?" Emily's face flushed red. "Arbitrary? Brandon proposed on June 14th. It's our anniversary. You've been dating for 11 months. Well, someone's bitter," Emily snapped. "Just because you'll never get married doesn't mean you have to ruin this for me." The words hung in the air like poison. My mother didn't contradict her, didn't defend me, just stood there, hand on Emily's shoulder, united against the broken daughter in the wheelchair. That's when I felt it. The old rage. The one I'd been suppressing since I woke up in that hospital bed, alone, except for the nurses. The rage I'd swallowed every time Dad made excuses not to visit. Every time Emily posted engagement photos without once mentioning her sister, who was learning to feed herself again. Every time Mom sighed like my existence was an inconvenience. But beneath the rage was something new, something that had started 3 weeks ago when I'd wiggled my toes for the first time. Something that had grown when I'd taken my first supported steps during physical therapy sessions I paid for myself with the pittance of my savings. Something that crystallized into diamond-hard clarity when my physical therapist, Dr. Chen, pulled me aside yesterday and whispered, "Jessica, you're recovering much faster than expected. If you keep this up, you could be walking independently within weeks. But maybe don't tell your family yet. I've seen how they treat you during visiting hours." Dr. Chen was the first person in my life who'd ever truly seen me, who'd noticed the way my family's rare visits left me more drained than the therapy itself, who'd caught my mother counting the minutes until she could leave, who'd overheard Emily on the phone in the hallway complaining about how my situation was affecting her wedding planning timeline. And Dr. Chen had given me something more valuable than any surgery, an idea. What if they didn't know I was recovering? What if I let them think I was still completely dependent, still broken, still an inconvenience they could dismiss? What if I used their cruelty, their neglect, their absolute certainty that I would never be anything more than a burden? What if I let them hang themselves with their own rope? "Fine," I said softly, meeting my sister's eyes. "Have your wedding on June 14th. I'll try to reschedule." The smile that spread across Emily's face was triumphant and ugly. "See, I knew you'd understand. Family comes first, right?" I smiled back. Let them think it was surrender. It was actually a declaration of war 2 years ago. To understand how I got here, you need to understand what my family was like before the accident. Before the wheelchair. Before I realized that I'd been raised by wolves who wore human skin. I was always the spare daughter, the backup, the one they kept around in case Emily didn't work out, but who was never supposed to actually outshine her. Emily was older by 3 years, beautiful in that effortless way that made people stop and stare. Blonde where I was brunette. Tall where I was average. Outgoing where I was quiet. She'd been head cheerleader, prom queen, the girl who got into an Ivy League school on her looks and charm alone because her grades were generously mediocre. I was the one who studied, who worked, who got a full scholarship to state because my parents made it clear they wouldn't pay for my education. Emily's tuition had depleted the college fund. I was the one who graduated summa cum laude, who got a job as a software engineer at a promising startup who saved every penny and tried so hard to make them proud. It was never enough. My 24th birthday fell on a Tuesday. I'd taken the day off work, hoping maybe, just maybe, we could have dinner together as a family. I'd even made a reservation at Mom's favorite restaurant, sent it to the family group chat a week in advance. The day came and went, no calls, no texts. At 11 p.m., drunk on cheap wine and loneliness, I checked Emily's Instagram. There was a photo of her, Mom, and Dad at an upscale restaurant. The caption read, "Celebrating life with my favorite people, #blessed, #family, #love." Posted at 7 p.m., right when we were supposed to be at dinner. I called Mom. She answered on the 5th ring, music and laughter in the background. "Jessica, is something wrong?" "It's my birthday." A pause, then, Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Emily had a crisis with her boyfriend, and we had to take her out to cheer her up. You understand, right? She was really upset. I could hear Emily laughing in the background. "You could have invited me," I said quietly. "Well, you know how Emily is. She needed just family time, close family, you understand?" Close family, as if I wasn't. I hung up and cried until 2 a.m. Then I dried my tears, straightened my spine, and made myself a promise. I would make them see me. I would make them proud. I would work so hard, achieve so much, that they'd have no choice but to acknowledge me. I threw myself into my job, worked 60, 70-hour weeks, led a project that saved the company millions, got promoted twice in 1 year. By the time I was 26, I was the youngest senior engineer at the company, pulling in a 6-figure salary. I bought a modest condo in a nice neighborhood, sent Mom the address, invited them all over for dinner to celebrate. Dad's response in the family chat, "Can't make it, golf tournament." Mom's, "That's so far from us, honey, maybe another time." Emily's, "Why would you buy something so small? Brandon and I are looking at places twice that size at LOL." They never came. For Emily's engagement party, though, I got a text from Mom. "Mandatory family attendance, don't embarrass us." I went. Wore the dress Mom picked out, too big, unflattering, beige. Smiled through Emily's friends asking what I did, then losing interest the moment I said software engineer. Watched Mom and Dad beam with pride as Emily and Brandon announced their plans. "We're thinking a June wedding," Emily announced. "Something grand. Brandon's family is very well connected." She said it like she'd won a prize. Brandon worked in middle management at his father's company. He was fine. Boring, honestly, with a weak chin and wandering eyes. But his family had money, and that was all that mattered to Emily. I gave them an expensive blender as an engagement gift. Emily texted me a week later. "Got the blender. We already have 2 better ones. Did you keep the receipt?" That was October. The accident happened in January. I was driving home from work on a Tuesday evening. Late because I'd been fixing a critical bug in the system. It was raining, that particular kind of winter rain that turns roads into mirrors. I never saw the truck that ran the red light. I woke up 3 days later in the ICU. My left side was crushed, broken femur, shattered pelvis, fractured ribs, traumatic brain injury causing partial paralysis. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive. The first face I saw wasn't my mother's or father's. It was my boss, Sarah. "Hey," she said softly, squeezing my right hand. "Welcome back." "Family," I croaked. Something shifted in her expression. "I called them when you came out of surgery. Your mom said, she said she'd try to visit soon. Your sister said she was too busy with wedding planning but would send good vibes." I'd been in a coma for 3 days and they couldn't be bothered to show up. Sarah stayed with me for 6 hours that first day. She brought my favorite books, set up my laptop so I could watch movies, held my hand when the panic attacks hit. She came back every day for a week. My parents showed up on day 5. Mom looked uncomfortable, like hospitals offended her personally. Dad checked his watch 3 times in the first 10 minutes. "The doctors say you might not walk again," Mom said, not as a comfort, but as an accusation. "Jessica, how could you let this happen?" Let this happen. "I was hit by a drunk driver," I said through gritted teeth. "Were you texting? You young people are always on your phones." I wasn't. The police report confirmed it. The other driver had a BAC of .24 and a history of DUIs. "I'm going to need help," I said. "When I get out, I'll need someone to—" "We can't," Dad interrupted. "Your mother's back, and Emily's wedding planning is very stressful for us. We need to focus on that. I almost died." "Don't be dramatic," Mom said. "You're fine now." I wasn't fine. I couldn't walk, couldn't drive, could barely dress myself. My left hand trembled constantly, and my left leg was a useless weight. They visited twice more in 3 months. The first time, Mom complained about the parking fees. The second time, Emily came along and spent the entire visit showing me bridesmaid dress options. "Which one do you think would look best on Brittany?" she asked, holding up her phone. "She's my maid of honor, obviously." "Not me." Her sorority sister, Brittany, who she'd known for 5 years, I'd known her for 29 years. I was her sister, and I wasn't even asked to be a bridesmaid. "What about me?" I asked quietly. Emily laughed. "Jess, be serious. You can't even walk. How would you make it down the aisle? Plus, all my bridesmaids are. She gestured vaguely at herself. "Besides, you'll be sitting anyway. You can just sit in the front row." "If we can find a venue that's wheelchair accessible," Mom added. "Which might be difficult. These historic estates aren't always accommodating." They left an hour later, and I cried until a night nurse found me. Her name was Maria, and she held me like my mother never had. "Honey," she said gently, "those people don't deserve you." But they were my family. They were all I had, or so I thought. Physical therapy started in month 2. It was hell. Every movement was agony, every small victory, lifting my leg an inch, gripping a fork, sitting unsupported, felt both monumental and pathetically inadequate. My insurance covered 20 sessions. After that, it was $150 per hour out of pocket. I had savings, the condo fund I'd been building, the emergency account I'd sworn I'd never touch. I liquidated it all, session by session, week by week. I asked my parents for help once. Just once. "Jessica, we have Emily's wedding to pay for," Mom said. "Do you know how much a wedding costs these days?" "I can't walk." "You have insurance. Surely that covers it." "Only partially. I need more sessions. The doctor says with intensive therapy I might—" "We'll help when we can," Dad said, which we both knew meant never. They contributed $40,000 to Emily's wedding. I know because Emily posted about it on Facebook, thanking them for their incredible generosity in making her dream wedding come true. They gave me nothing. Dr. Chen noticed. She noticed everything. She was in her 50s, Korean American, with iron gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She pushed me harder than any therapist I'd had before, but she also saw me. Really saw me. "Your family doesn't visit," she observed one day, 3 months into our sessions. "They're busy." Busy. She didn't make it a question. "My sister's getting married." "And you?" "I'm just trying to walk again." Dr. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Jessica, I've been doing this for 23 years. I can always tell which patients will succeed. It's not about the severity of injury. It's about will. And you have more will than anyone I've ever met. But I need you to ask yourself something. Who are you fighting for?" "What do you mean? Are you fighting to recover for yourself? Or are you fighting to prove something to people who will never appreciate it?" The question haunted me. I realized the truth in month 4, the day Mom called to tell me Emily's bridal shower was the same weekend as my next major surgery consultation. "You'll have to skip the shower," she said. Not asking, telling. "Mom, this is important. I need to—" "Emily needs you there. She's your sister." "I'm recovering from a traumatic accident." "It's been 4 months, Jessica. At some point, you need to stop using this accident as an excuse." Emily feels like you're not prioritizing her during the most important time of her life." I hung up. I didn't go to the shower. Emily texted me a week later. "Thanks for nothing. You're so selfish. Mom was right about you." Right about me. As if they'd been discussing my failures, my inadequacies, my selfishness, and having the audacity to be hit by a drunk driver during Emily's engagement year. That's when it started, the tiny rebellion. I'd been making progress in PT. Small progress, standing for 30 seconds, taking 2 supported steps, gripping a pen with my left hand. But I'd been reporting every achievement to my family, hoping for encouragement, for pride, for anything. I got nothing, literally nothing. My texts went unread, my calls went to voicemail, so I stopped reporting. And something strange happened. I started improving faster. Without the emotional drain of sharing my victories with people who didn't care, I had more energy for the actual work. Without the heartbreak of their dismissal, I could focus on my body, my recovery, my future. Dr. Chen noticed this too. "You're doing better," she said. "Something's changed." I stopped telling my family about my progress. She smiled. Not with pity, with understanding. Sometimes the best thing we can do for ourselves is stop seeking validation from people who will never give it. By month 5, I could stand for 5 minutes. By month 6, I could take 10 steps with a walker. By month 7, I was using a cane for short distances. And I told my family none of it. When they visited, rare occasions, always timed around other events nearby, I made sure I was in the wheelchair. I made sure my left hand trembled. I made sure I looked weak, helpless, broken. Because I'd noticed something. The sicker I seemed, the less guilty they felt. If I was permanently disabled, then they hadn't abandoned a sister who could recover. They'd simply prioritized the healthy daughter. That was reasonable, wasn't it? That was practical. But if I recovered despite their neglect, that would make them monsters. So I let them think I never would. Dr. Chen pulled me aside after a particularly grueling session in month 8. "Jessica, you're walking independently. Not perfectly, but functionally. Your left hand has regained 80% mobility. In another few months, you might not need the cane. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. And yet your family still thinks you're completely dependent? Yes." She studied my face, then slowly she smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who'd seen too many patients abandoned by families who were supposed to love them. "What are you planning?" she asked. "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But they want me to reschedule my surgery for my sister's wedding. The surgery I don't actually need anymore because you're a miracle worker." "What did you tell them?" "That I'd reschedule." Dr. Chen's smile widened. "Do you know what I love about physical therapy? It's all about patience. About waiting for exactly the right moment to push. About knowing when to hold back and when to strike." She wasn't just talking about therapy. "I need to get stronger," I said. "Strong enough that there's no question I've recovered. Strong enough that anyone can see I didn't need their help." "How much time do we have?" 4 months until the wedding. Then we have work to do." I trained like an athlete, every day, sometimes twice a day. Dr. Chen helped me off the books, refusing payment because watching you pull this off will be payment enough. I learned to hide my progress perfectly. Around my family, I was helpless Jessica, the tragic invalid. At home, I was Jessica the warrior, doing squats and planks and running on the treadmill I'd bought with the last of my savings. My company had been incredibly understanding. I'd been working remotely modified hours, and they'd held my position for me. But in month 8, Sarah called me. "Jess, we need to talk about your situation." My heart sank. I couldn't lose this job. I needed it. Not for the money, my savings were gone, but for the identity, for the proof that I was more than my family's afterthought. "I understand if you need to let me go," I started. "Let you go? Jessica, are you insane? I'm calling to promote you." I actually laughed. "What? You've been working half days remotely and still outperforming people working full-time in the office. Your code is cleaner, your solutions more elegant, your team leadership exceptional. We want you to transition to a fully remote senior architect position. 20% raise, flexible hours, and a signing bonus." I couldn't speak. "Jess, are you there? You're promoting me? You earned it, accident or no accident." Actually, if anything, you've proven that you're the most dedicated person on the team. You could have taken extended leave. Instead, you worked through recovery. That's the kind of person we want leading projects. The signing bonus was $50,000. For the first time in a year, I cried from happiness instead of grief. I told no one in my family. Why would I? They'd never asked how I was managing financially. Never offered to help with bills or medical expenses. Never wondered how I was paying for the PT that wasn't covered by insurance. My promotion, my raise, my victory, it was mine alone. And I started planning. The turning point. The invitation arrived in the mail 3 months before the wedding. Cream-colored, monogrammed, expensive. Mr. and Mrs. Richard Montgomery request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter, Emily Rose Montgomery, to Mr. Brandon James Whitmore. I wasn't listed on the invitation. I was a guest, not part of the wedding party. My name was on the RSVP card in my mother's handwriting. Jessica Montgomery, 1 wheelchair-accessible seat required. They'd RSVP'd for me. Hadn't even asked if I was coming. Just assumed I'd sit quietly in the back and be grateful to be included. I looked at the invitation for a long time. Then I looked at myself in the full-length mirror I'd bought for my PT exercises. I stood straight, no cane, no walker, no tremor in my left hand. I walked across the room, normal gait, maybe a tiny hitch in my left leg, but nothing anyone would notice unless they were looking for it. I was recovered. Fully, completely recovered. And in 3 months, I'd walk into that wedding and show them exactly what they'd missed while they were abandoning me. But that felt too simple, too easy. No, I wanted something better, something that would make them understand not just what they'd missed, but what they'd lost, what they'd thrown away when they chose a party over their daughter's life. I called Dr. Chen. I need your help with something, I said. Revenge? She sounded delighted. Justice? Even better. We met at a coffee shop near her office. I laid out my plan. I want to keep pretending I haven't recovered. I want them to continue thinking I'm helpless. And then, at the wedding, I want to reveal everything. Dramatic, Dr. Chen said approvingly. But what's the end goal? Just showing them you can walk? They'll just make excuses. Say they're so happy for you. Pretend they supported you all along. She was right. I needed more. What else have they done to you? Dr. Chen asked. Beyond the neglect? I thought about it, really thought about it. My college fund, I said slowly. They used it all on Emily. Told me there was nothing left, but I saw the statements once. There was $100,000. It's gone now. Can you prove it was meant for both of you? It was in both our names. My grandmother set it up before she died. She left explicit instructions that it was to be split equally. Do you have documentation? Somewhere, in my storage unit maybe. Grandma's will. Find it, Dr. Chen said. What else? My inheritance from Grandma. She left me her house, but Dad sold it and said the money went to estate expenses. I was 19. I didn't question it. How much was the house worth? It sold for $600,000. Dad gave me $10,000 and said the rest covered debts and taxes. Dr. Chen's eyes narrowed. Your grandmother had $600,000 in debts? That's what they told me. Jess, you were the executor of that estate? No, Dad was... And you never saw an accounting? I shook my head. You need a lawyer, Dr. Chen said. A good one. Because if what you're telling me is true, your father committed fraud, possibly embezzlement, and you might have a case to recover those funds. My mouth went dry. It's been almost 10 years. The statute of limitations for fraud is 3 to 6 years in most states, depending on when you discovered it. But some jurisdictions allow longer if you can prove concealment. When did you realize the money was mishandled? I guess I always suspected, but I trusted them. I thought that they wouldn't steal from you. I nodded. Dr. Chen reached across the table and took my hand. Jessica, your family has been stealing from you your entire life. Your education fund, your inheritance, your time, your recovery, your self-worth. It's time to take it all back. She was right. I found a lawyer the next day. His name was Marcus Reed, and he specialized in estate fraud. I told him everything. He listened, made notes, and then said, I need to see that will and any documentation you have about the college fund, bank statements, emails, anything. I spent 3 weeks digging through my storage unit. I found Grandma's will in a box of her personal effects. The college fund statements were harder. My parents had kept those. But I found references to it in old birthday cards from Grandma. "For your future," she'd written. "Both of you girls equally." Marcus reviewed everything. Then he called me back to his office. "Jessica, your case is solid. Your grandmother's will explicitly states that her house and remaining assets were to be divided among her grandchildren. That's you and Emily, with your father as executor but not as a beneficiary. The sale of the house netted $600,000 after legitimate closing costs and estate expenses. That should have left approximately $550,000, split equally. You were owed $275,000. You received $10,000, and so he stole $265,000 from me. At minimum, and the college fund is even more clear-cut. It was held in trust for both of you, equal shares. If there was $100,000 and Emily received all of it, that's $50,000 more that should have been yours." I did the math. They stole over $300,000 from me. With interest and penalties, we could be looking at $400,000 or more. But Jessica, there's something you need to understand. If we pursue this, your family will hate you. There's no coming back from this. I thought about the birthday they forgot, the hospital visits they skipped, the wedding they prioritized over my surgery, the way they'd looked at me in that wheelchair. Not with pity or love, but with inconvenience. "They already hate me," I said. "They just haven't realized it yet." Marcus smiled. It was a shark's smile. "Then let's get your money back, and let's time it perfectly." We filed the lawsuit in April, 2 months before the wedding. I told no one. The climax? My parents received the legal documents on a Tuesday. Marcus had arranged for service during dinner time when he knew they'd both be home. Dad called me 17 times in the first hour. I didn't answer. Let him panic, let him wonder. When I finally picked up on call 18, he was apoplectic. "Jessica, what the hell is this?" "A lawsuit, Dad, for the money you stole from me." "Stole? How dare you?" Grandma's will was very clear, equal shares. You gave me $10,000 and kept the rest. The college fund was in both our names. You spent it all on Emily. Do you want to keep pretending, or should we discuss this in court? "You ungrateful little—" He caught himself, breathed. When he spoke again, his voice was artificially calm. "Jessica, you're upset. You've been through a trauma. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. If you drop this lawsuit, we'll help you with your medical expenses. You'll what, Dad? Finally act like parents? It's too late for that." "You're really going to destroy this family over money?" "You destroyed this family when you stole from me. I'm just making it official." I hung up, blocked his number, blocked Mom's too. Emily texted me an hour later. "You're actually insane. Suing Dad before my wedding? Could you be any more selfish?" I didn't respond. The lawsuit became the talk of the extended family. Aunts and uncles took sides. Some of them reached out to me privately, admitting they'd always suspected my parents played favorites, but never wanted to get involved. One aunt, Dad's sister Linda, called me. "Jessica, I need to tell you something. When your grandmother died, she told me specifically that she was leaving you extra money because she knew your parents would favor Emily. She made your father promise to split everything equally. I was there when she made him swear it." "Would you testify to that?" "Absolutely." Marcus added her to the witness list. The discovery phase was brutal. We subpoenaed bank records, tax returns, email accounts. What we found was worse than I'd imagined. My parents hadn't just spent my inheritance on Emily, they'd spent it on themselves. Vacations, cars, home renovations, Dad's golf club membership, Mom's shopping addiction. Emily had received her share of the college fund, $50,000, plus my share, plus an additional $100,000 from the house sale that was supposed to be mine. In total, they'd given her $200,000 more than she was entitled to. And that was just what we could prove. Marcus estimated that with interest, damages, and penalties, they'd owe me close to $500,000. May arrived. 1 month before the wedding, I went to my parents' house unannounced. I hadn't been there in 9 months, since before the accident. I'd been avoiding it, avoiding them, but now I needed to see their faces. I drove myself, got out of the car without the wheelchair I kept in the trunk for appearances. Walked up to the front door with only the slightest hitch in my gait. Mom answered. She looked terrible, older, worn, stressed. She didn't notice I was walking. "Jessica," she said flatly. "What do you want?" "To talk." "We have nothing to say to you. You're suing your own father." "He stole from me." "He did no such thing. He used that money to keep this family afloat. Do you know how expensive—" "I want you to understand something," I interrupted. "I don't care about the money. I mean, I'll take it and I'll win because the law is on my side. But that's not why I'm here." "Then why?" "I'm here to tell you that you don't need to come to court. Sign over what you owe me, admit what you did, and I'll drop the suit. We can keep this quiet. Emily's wedding doesn't need to be ruined." Mom's face flickered with hope. "You'd do that?" "If you admit the truth, sign the agreement Marcus prepared, and apologize." She hesitated. For a moment, I thought she might actually do it, might actually acknowledge what they'd done to me. Then Dad appeared behind her. "Get out," he said coldly. "You're not welcome here." "Dad, you're no daughter of mine. You sue your own family over money? Your grandmother wanted that money used for important things. Emily's education, her wedding, her future. Not for your little apartment and your mediocre life." "My mediocre life?" I repeated quietly. "You're a computer programmer. Emily is marrying into one of the most prominent families in the state. Your grandmother would have wanted her money invested in success." Something inside me snapped. "You want to know what Grandma wanted?" I reached into my bag, pulled out a copy of her will. I'd been carrying it for weeks. She wanted her money split equally. It says so right here. But you know what she also left? Letters, one for me, one for Emily. Want to know what mine said? I didn't wait for an answer. I pulled out the letter, yellowed with age, and read aloud. "My darling Jessica, you are the brave one, the kind one, the one who will do great things quietly without needing applause. I'm leaving you this money because I know your parents will favor your sister. They always have. But you, my girl, you are worth 10 of her. Never forget that. Be strong, be brilliant, and don't let them make you small." Tears were running down my face. I hadn't cried when I read it the first time, found in that storage box with her other papers. But saying it aloud, here, to the people who'd proven Grandma right in every possible way, it broke something open in me. "She knew," I whispered. "Grandma knew exactly what you were, and she tried to protect me from you." Mom's face was white. "Jessica, I'll see you in court," I said, and walked away. Behind me, I heard Dad say, "She's bluffing. She can't afford to take this to trial." He didn't know about my promotion, my raise, my signing bonus that I'd immediately handed over to Marcus with instructions to spare no expense. He didn't know that I'd spent the last 2 months documenting everything, that I had Aunt Linda's testimony, that I had the original will, the bank statements, emails from Grandma to me talking about our money and your future. He didn't know that Marcus was one of the best estate attorneys in the state and had taken my case partially on contingency because he was personally offended by what my parents had done. He didn't know anything, and that was exactly how I wanted it. The wedding was June 14th. The trial was set for June 20th, 1 week apart. Marcus had tried to get an earlier date, but the court calendar was packed. When he told me, I'd laughed. "Perfect," I'd said. "Let them have their perfect wedding. Let Emily have her perfect day, and then, 1 week later, let's take it all away." But as the wedding approached, something unexpected happened. I started getting texts from Emily's friends, girls I'd met once or twice at family events. They were nice, concerned. "Hey, Jess, it's Brittany. Emily's been really stressed about the lawsuit. Any chance you guys can work it out before the wedding?" "Hi, Jessica. This is Amanda. I know family stuff is complicated, but Emily really wants you there. She misses you." Emily missed me. "Right," I responded politely but non-committally. Said I'd think about it. The truth was, I was going to that wedding. I wouldn't miss it for the world. But I wasn't going to sit in the back in a wheelchair like the tragic invalid sister they expected. I was going to walk in, stand up, and show them exactly what they'd dismissed. Dr. Chen helped me prepare. We practiced for weeks. How to stand from a wheelchair, how to time it, how to make the moment count. "You're sure you want to do this?" she asked the week before. "Once you reveal that you've recovered, there's no going back. They'll know you lied." "They lied first," I said. "They lied every time they said they loved me. Every time they said family came first. Every time they made me feel like I was worth less than Emily. This is just me telling the truth they didn't want to hear." "What truth?" "That I survived them." The day of the wedding arrived. I woke up early, did my exercises, made sure every muscle was warm and ready. I dressed carefully in a dress I'd bought specifically for this. Elegant, sophisticated, expensive. A dress that said I didn't need their money or their approval. I put on the smallest amount of makeup, did my hair myself, looked in the mirror and saw not the broken girl from the wheelchair, but a woman who'd clawed her way back from the edge alone. "Hi, Grandma," I whispered to my reflection. "Watch this." I drove to the venue, the Ashford estate, booked on my surgery date. I'd canceled that surgery the week after they asked with a fake sigh of disappointment. Let Dr. Chen tell them it had been rescheduled for August. Let them think I'd sacrificed for Emily. I had the wheelchair in my trunk. I'd need it for the entrance. The parking lot was already filling with expensive cars. Emily's friends, Brandon's family, all the people who thought this wedding was the social event of the season. I saw my parents' car. Saw Emily's ridiculous white Escalade that Dad had bought her for her college graduation while I'd gotten a $50 gift card to Target. I transferred to the wheelchair, made sure I looked appropriately weak. My dress was perfect. It hid the strength in my legs, made me look fragile. I wheeled myself toward the entrance. A coordinator rushed over. "Oh, are you family? Let me help you." "I'm fine," I said quietly. "I'm the bride's sister." Her face flickered with something. Pity, probably, but she helped me up the ramp. Inside, the venue was breathtaking. White roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers, a string quartet playing softly. And at the front, talking to a cluster of guests, were my parents. Mom saw me first. Her expression went through several emotions: surprise, annoyance, fear, before settling on forced pleasantness. "Jessica," she said, coming over, "you came." "Of course I came. She's my sister." "Well, that's good. Your seat is in the back, near the exit, in case you need to leave quickly." In case I ruined the aesthetics. "Perfect," I said sweetly. I wheeled myself to my assigned spot. Last row, far corner, where I wouldn't be in any photos. Guests filtered in. I recognized some of them. Distant relatives who'd taken my parents' side in the lawsuit. Emily's sorority sisters who'd sent me those concerned texts. They all looked at me with a mixture of pity and awkwardness. No one sat near me. The empty seats around me stayed empty, even as the venue filled to capacity. They'd rather stand than sit next to the wheelchair. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 p.m. At 3:45, the music shifted. The wedding party began entering. Bridesmaids first, 8 of them, none of whom were me. Brittany, the maid of honor, in her position of privilege. Then the groomsmen, then Brandon, looking nervous and slightly drunk already. Finally, the music swelled. Everyone stood. Emily appeared at the entrance on Dad's arm, and she looked beautiful. Of course she did. Her dress was stunning. Custom, probably $20,000, paid for with money that should have been mine. As she walked down the aisle, I saw her scan the crowd. Her eyes landed on me for a brief second. Something flickered in her expression. Guilt? Fear? But then it was gone, replaced by her bride smile. The ceremony was traditional, boring, honestly. The officiant spoke about love and family and commitment. Brandon stammered through his vows. Emily cried prettily. They were pronounced husband and wife. Everyone clapped. I waited. The reception was where it would happen, where I would make my move. We filed into the ballroom. My assigned seat was again in the back, at a table with elderly relatives who probably didn't know who I was. Dinner was served, speeches began. Dad went first. He talked about Emily's childhood, her accomplishments, how proud he was. He mentioned me exactly once. And of course, her sister Jessica is here tonight as well. A token acknowledgement. The bare minimum. Mom's speech was worse. She didn't mention me at all. Brittany's maid of honor speech was all inside jokes and sorority memories. Then it was time for the father-daughter dance. I watched Dad and Emily on the floor, watched him smile at her like she was precious, like she was worth something, like she was loved. The dance ended. The real party began. Music, dancing, drinking. I stayed in my wheelchair in my corner watching. People got drunk. Emily changed into her reception dress. Brandon's friends got loud, and then it happened. Emily approached my table. She was several champagne flutes in, flushed and happy. "Jessica," she said, wobbling slightly. "I'm so glad you came. I know things have been complicated, but you're my sister, and I wanted you here." "Did you?" "Of course. Family is the most important thing." "Is that why you asked me to skip my surgery for your wedding?" Her smile faltered. "I thought we were past that. You rescheduled it. Problem solved." "Did you ever ask how I'm doing, Emily?" "You look fine. Great even." "Do I?" Something in my tone made her step back. "What are you—" I stood up. It happened so smoothly. One moment I was sitting in the wheelchair, and the next I was on my feet, standing straight. No shake, no weakness. Just me, fully recovered, looking my sister in the eye. The music was still playing, but the people near us had stopped dancing. They were staring. "Jessica," Emily's voice was small. You can walk?" "I've been able to walk for 6 months," I said clearly. Loudly enough that people turned, that the music seemed to quiet. "I recovered fully, no thanks to any of you." Mom appeared at Emily's side. "Jessica, what are you—" "I recovered," I repeated, "while you were all planning this wedding, while you were telling me to reschedule my surgery, while you were completely ignoring me. I went through 9 months of hell, paid for my own physical therapy, rebuilt myself from nothing, and I did it alone." The ballroom had gone quiet now. Even the band had stopped playing. Dad pushed through the crowd. "Jessica, this is not the time." "When is the time, Dad? When would have been a good time to tell you that while you were stealing my inheritance and spending it on Emily's wedding, I was learning to walk again? When would have been a good time to mention that I'm not actually disabled anymore, that I haven't been for months, but you were all so convinced I was broken that you never even asked?" "You lied," Mom hissed. "You've been lying this whole time." "I lied?" My voice cracked with something between laughter and fury. "I lied? You told me there was no college fund. You told me Grandma's estate was worthless. You told me you couldn't help with my medical bills because you were broke. And then you spent $40,000 on this party. Don't you dare accuse me of lying." Emily was crying now, her carefully done makeup running. "You're ruining my wedding." "No," I said, "I'm just standing up." I took a step forward, then another, walked right past them, through the crowd that parted like water. "Jessica, wait," Dad called. "We need to talk about this." I turned. "We'll talk in court next week. Marcus has all the documentation, Grandma's will, the bank statements, the emails where you promised to split everything equally, Aunt Linda's testimony. You're going to lose, Dad. You're going to have to give me every penny you stole, plus interest, plus damages. And everyone in this room is going to know exactly what kind of people you are." "Please," Mom whispered. "Please don't do this." "Do what?" "Tell the truth. Show people that I survived, that I'm stronger than you ever wanted me to be." I looked at Emily, at my sister, who'd never once asked how I was healing, who'd made my accident about her wedding, who'd accepted every advantage while I got nothing. "I hope your marriage is happy," I said. "I hope Brandon is good to you. Because you're going to need all the support you can get when Dad can't help you anymore, when the money runs out, when you realize that being the favorite doesn't actually mean anything." Emily sobbed harder. I didn't feel good about making her cry, but I didn't feel bad either. I walked out of that ballroom with my head high, walked past the coordinator, who was staring in shock, walked past the guests who'd flooded into the hallway to watch. I walked out the front door, down the steps, no ramp needed, to my car. I left the wheelchair there, right at the entrance, a monument to who they thought I was. Dr. Chen called me as I was driving away. "Did you do it?" "I did it. And they'll never forgive me." "Good," she said fiercely. They don't deserve to." I laughed, cried, laughed again. "Thank you," I said. For everything, for seeing me when no one else did, for helping me get strong. Jessica, you were always strong. I just helped you remember. Epilogue. The trial lasted 3 days. Marcus was brilliant. He had everything documented, every bank transfer, every receipt, every email. Aunt Linda's testimony was devastating. She described in detail Grandma's instructions and Dad's promises. My parents' lawyer tried to argue that the money had been used for family expenses that benefited everyone. Marcus countered with a detailed breakdown of where every penny had gone. Luxury vacations I wasn't invited to, cars I didn't drive, a wedding I was barely included in. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She listened to everything with the expression that grew increasingly stern. When it came time for closing arguments, she held up a hand. I've heard enough. Mr. Montgomery, you were the executor of your mother's estate. You had a fiduciary duty to follow her wishes as outlined in her will. You failed to do so. Whether through negligence or malice is irrelevant. You owe your daughter $275,000 from the estate, plus $50,000 from the college fund, plus interest accrued over 9 years, plus punitive damages for breach of fiduciary duty. She did the math right there. $468,000, nearly $500,000. My father went gray. You have 90 days to pay, the judge said. If you cannot pay in full, we'll discuss payment plans or asset liquidation. But Miss Montgomery will receive every penny owed to her. We won. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. The story had gotten out. Local girl sues parents for stolen inheritance. Reveals she faked disability to expose them. It was tabloid gold. I didn't give them much, just a simple statement. Justice was served today. That's all I have to say. Marcus, however, was more than happy to elaborate. He laid out the whole sordid story for the cameras. By the next morning, it was everywhere. Local news, online articles, my parents' names attached to words like fraud and embezzlement and favoritism. Emily called me once. I almost didn't answer. You destroyed us, she said flatly. No, I took back what was mine. Dad has to sell the house. Mom is having a breakdown, and everyone knows. Everyone. My in-laws are humiliated. Brandon is talking about an annulment because he can't be associated with this scandal. Then he was never worth marrying. I hate you. I know, I said. But here's the thing, Emily. I don't hate you. I pity you. Because you were raised to believe that you deserved more than me just for existing. And now you're going to have to learn that the world doesn't work that way. She hung up. I haven't spoken to any of them since. My parents sold their house to pay me, downsized to a small condo. I heard through Aunt Linda that they're barely speaking to each other, each blaming the other for the lawsuit. Emily and Brandon are still married for now. But her Instagram went quiet. No more perfect life posts, no more humble brags. Just silence. As for me, I took my settlement money and did something I'd always dreamed of. I started my own company, a software consulting firm specializing in accessibility technology. Tools to help people with disabilities maintain their independence. Dr. Chen is on my board of advisors. We're doing well, really well. Within a year, we had 20 employees and contracts with major healthcare providers. I bought a new condo, bigger than the one I'd sold to pay for PT, in a better neighborhood, with a view that makes me happy every morning. I started therapy, real therapy with a psychologist who helped me process everything. The abuse, the neglect, the recovery, the revenge. Do you regret it? She asked me once. How you handled it? Sometimes, I admitted. Sometimes I think I should have just cut them off quietly, been the bigger person. And then I remember sitting alone in that hospital room, watching my sister post wedding photos while I was learning to feed myself again. And I stopped regretting. She nodded. Revenge is a dish best served cold, they say. But I think what you did wasn't revenge. It was justice. There's a difference. Maybe she's right. 6 months after the trial, I got a letter. It was from Grandma, not her ghost or anything. Just another letter Aunt Linda found in Grandma's papers and decided to give me now that everything had settled. My darling Jessica, it read, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and I hope your father has treated you fairly. But I know him. I know he probably won't. So let me tell you something important. You don't need their approval. You don't need their love. You don't even need their acknowledgement. You need only your own strength, your own worth, your own knowledge that you are good and brave and true. Stand up, my girl. Stand up tall, and don't you dare let anyone make you small. I love you, I'm proud of you, and wherever I am, I'm watching you shine. I cried when I read it. But they were good tears. Grandma was right. I didn't need them. I never had. I had myself, and that was enough. 1 year later, I'm in my office when the email comes. Subject line, request for meeting. It's from Emily. I almost delete it, but curiosity wins. Jessica, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I don't blame you, but I need to talk to you, please, just once. I'll come to you anywhere you want, please. I sit with it for a day, 2 days, a week. Finally, I respond, my office, next Tuesday, 2 p.m., don't be late. She shows up 15 minutes early. I watch her through the window as she stands in the lobby, looking nervous. She's thinner than she was at the wedding. Paler, no wedding ring. I have my assistant send her up. When she enters my office, with my name on the door, she stops and stares. Wow, she says quietly. You really did it. Did what? Made something of yourself, on your own. I gesture to a chair. She sits. We look at each other for a long moment. Brandon left me, she says finally, 3 months ago. Turns out he was cheating the entire time we were engaged. I only found out because one of the girls posted something online and tagged him. I'm sorry, I say, and mean it. Mom and Dad aren't speaking to me. They blame me for the lawsuit. Say if I hadn't been so demanding about the wedding, none of this would have happened. They're moving to Arizona, starting over. Didn't invite me. Emily, I don't want your pity, she says quickly. I'm not here for that. I'm here because I need to say something. Something I should have said a long time ago. She takes a breath. I'm sorry for all of it. For every birthday I missed. Every hospital visit I skipped. Every time I made your pain about me. For asking you to reschedule your surgery. For never once asking how you were really doing. For letting Mom and Dad treat you like you were less than me. Tears are streaming down her face now. I'm sorry for being the favorite. For taking the college fund and not questioning it. For accepting the inheritance money and not asking if you got the same. For living a life built on advantages I didn't earn while you got nothing. I'm sorry for not being a sister to you, for not protecting you, for not even seeing that you needed protection. I don't speak, can't speak. I know you probably hate me, Emily continues. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know that I see it now, all of it. What they did to you, what I let them do. And I am so, so sorry. She stands up. That's all. That's what I came to say. You don't have to respond. You don't owe me anything. I needed to say it. She's at the door when I finally find my voice. Emily, wait. She turns. I don't hate you, I say. I did for a while, but I don't anymore. You should. Maybe. But hating you is exhausting, and I'm tired of being exhausted. She nods, swipes at her tears. For what it's worth, I continue. I hope you figure things out. I hope you build a life you're proud of. One you earn yourself. Can I ask you something? Sure, if I called you, sometimes. Not a lot, just if I needed someone to talk to, would you answer? I think about it, really think about it. Maybe, I say honestly. Eventually. But I need time, Emily, a lot of time. What happened? It broke something, and I'm still putting myself back together. I understand. She hesitates. You look happy. Happier than I've ever seen you. I am. Good, you deserve it. She leaves. I sit at my desk for a long time after she's gone. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her. If we'll ever be sisters again in any real sense. But for the first time, I think maybe we could be something, not family. Maybe not even friends. But two people who survived the same war and are trying to find peace on the other side. Maybe that's enough. The end. I'm standing in front of a mirror, getting ready for a gala. It's for my company. We're being honored with an innovation award for our accessibility software. Dr. Chen will be there. Aunt Linda, my entire team. Sarah from my old job, who's become one of my closest friends. My family won't be there. I didn't invite them. I look at myself in the mirror, at the woman I've become, strong, successful, independent, free. I think about the girl in the wheelchair, the one who sat in the back of the ballroom, forgotten and dismissed. I think about the girl in the hospital bed, alone, except for nurses. I think about the girl at the birthday dinner that never happened. They're all still part of me. All those versions of Jessica who was hurt and overlooked and made to feel small. But they're not all of me anymore. I stood up, I fought back, I won, and I did it alone. Hi, Grandma, I whispered in my reflection, like I do sometimes. I stood up, just like you told me to. I swear I feel her pride, warm and real, wrapping around me like a hug. I grab my clutch and head out. I have an award to accept. I have a life to live. And I have nothing left to prove to anyone but myself.